What the hell? It's a goddamn cougar in the car.
No, there's a cougar in the car. I put it in there.
All right, welcome back, guys. Got episode 12. Matt's obviously by himself today. I don't know why I just spoke about myself in the third person, but I am by myself today. I'm recording this one a little early, and as you can see, I am not in my normal setup again. I am still on the road working. I'm actually staying in an Airbnb, kind of in BFE right now. But if you do hear like some little stuff going on in the background, probably just my coworkers. They're getting up early. But I want to go ahead. I don't want to waste too much time of y'all. We're going to be talking about our top 10 IDP Cornerstone players this year, 26 and under. So there's going to be like a little continuation of our last video that I did. Well, my last video that I did, where I went over our top 10 Cornerstone players on offense that are 25 and under. But the reason we kind of upped that to 26 is just because mostly with running backs, honestly, whenever you're 25, I mean, when you kind of just got to hit the ground running whenever you're running back, to be honest, to put it shortly. Everyone knows that by the time you're 25, you're really considered old by most standards, at least for fantasy terms. You know, usually when you're 25, you know, everyone has heard the term, you would rather be a year or two early than a year or two too late with some of these older running backs. So usually by the time you're 25, and y'all know me specifically, I don't like running backs. By the time they probably turn 24, I'm getting rid of, maybe not 24. That's a little bunch. I just don't like to hold on to running backs too often. I like to keep an influx of young running backs in, just because. So that's really, I mean, they just have such a short shelf life. So that's why you want to have that at least a little bit younger whenever you're in 25. But whenever you're in 26, you're still not really hitting probably your prime yet whenever you're on defense, because you have a little bit longer of a shelf life, even for some DNs and linebackers and stuff like that, even DBs. So this is what we're going to go over. And if you don't like IDP, you know, fairness to you, I recommend checking it out. I think it's pretty fun. It just keeps you more involved with the game, and instead of just rooting for offense, you end up rooting on both sides. You know, it keeps you. I'm just a massive football fan, so I think the more that I can get involved with the game, the better. So recommend checking out some IDP stuff if you haven't, and if not, you know, oh well, you know, still check out the video, like, subscribe. And like I said, eventually there'll be a little subscribe button right here. But yeah, like and subscribe, guys. Leave a note in the comment if you disagree, if you agree. And also we'll have a little link to our past video for our offensive top 10 Cornerstone players to where you can go check that one out as well. But so now let me go ahead and dive in. We have Micah Parsons at number 1, our Cowboys pass rusher, age 24. So I don't really need to say too much about Micah Parsons, honestly. Anyone who's watched football, y'all probably understand what he is. He's probably like the best defensive end that we've had since Lawrence Taylor. At least a lot of people consider him that as a prospect. I'm not the only one. If you think I'm crazy, just Google it for 2 seconds. I promise you, I'm not the only one that said that. But he's had over 13 sacks the last 2 seasons. He is a 2-time Pro Bowler and a first team All-Pro in both years as well. And in 2021, he had 20 tackles for loss. And in 2022, he did have a little bit of a dip in with 213, but he also has never missed a game in his career so far. And he is an athletic freak of nature, guys. Let me just throw that out there. Some of these linebackers, like, keep in mind, we also have another kind of Micah Parsons X. I don't think that's how you say that word. Esque. There we go. A Micah Parsons-esque guy coming out of LSU, Harold Perkins. You know, for any of you big college football guys, watch him. And I'm not even an LSU fan. I know I'm from Louisiana, but dude's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons is an athletic freak of nature. He ran a 4.39 at his Pro Bowl. I mean, not his Pro Bowl, his pro day. Whenever I don't think he ran it at the actual combine, no. If I am wrong, let me know in the comments. But yeah, he ran a 4.39 at his pro day, which is incredible. I think that beats out like a lot of people. Let me see. I actually had that in my notes real quick. Yeah, it beat out Tyreek Hill, Trevon Diggs, Nick Chubb in the 40-yard dash. That's crazy. And he was also a top 12 draft pick. So he has the draft capital. He has the athletic ability. He has all the talent that you would want in the world. And I don't know if I said this already, but from a defense perspective, you know, everyone, at least when you talk about like your dynasty Cornerstone players, you have like your Jamar Chase, your Justin Jefferson. Some of you may even throw Bijan Robinson in there already, you know, and I'm not there yet. I am a massive Bijan fan. You can ask Alex next time he's on. And Alex, as you're watching this, you're going to know. But I would still keep it as Justin and, you know, Jamar in that little tier by themselves. Bijan at least get on the field first. But with Micah, he's kind of in that little tier as well. Kind of with this next guy as well, but I'm not going to spoil his name yet. But there's about 2 guys that are really in that tier by themselves on the IDP perspective. But Micah Parsons has never missed a game. He's also the leader who really just improves everyone around him. And that's one thing that you've noticed about this Cowboys defense over the last few years. Now, yes, of course, that also does help with Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. You could tell that when he was with Seattle, even when Atlanta, he was a great head coach. They went to a Super Bowl, obviously, 28-3. Sorry for all you Atlanta fans. Got to. I'm a Saints fan, even though I'm wearing my Geno shirt. Got to represent my Saints too. But yeah, I mean, he led y'all to a Super Bowl though. So Dan Quinn is a great coach. He kind of, I guess his message just maybe soured out every now and then. That happens. So he needed a new start. But he is a great coach. Everywhere he's gone, he's had great defenses. So, but a lot of that also goes to the talent that he has and the leadership that Micah Parsons will show. And you'll see that just when you're on the field, when you pay attention to that kind of stuff. And last thing I really wanted to say is that he had the highest overall grade. And by the way, a lot of places I've gone, gotten my information. I don't have like my own grading system yet. Maybe that's something me and Alex and Ben, we can talk about. And because by the way, surprise, Ben will actually be on one of our next episodes, but maybe we can come up with our own grading system. That's something that we can talk about and really just figure out, because I know I watch a lot of other channels, they have their own grading system, but as of now I am using PFF's grading system, and he was the highest graded on PFF. He had a 91.6 overall grade. So and that's all defenders, by the way. That's, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that he was the highest grade defender. But number 2, to not spoil it, to not prolong it anymore, is Nick Bosa. So him and Nick Bosa, I believe, are kind of in like that own little tier. I know there's those memes that go around on Twitter about Nick Bosa that are really freaking funny, by the way. I have seen them all. If you know what they are, drop them in the comments. I'll need a laugh when I'm watching this. But yeah, so Nick Bosa is incredible though. You can't really deny his productivity. 30 plus sacks in the last 2 seasons. He's also a part of one of the best defenses in the NFL. So it really is like impossible to double team him when you just look at some of the other talent around him. Let alone on that offensive line. They just signed Javon Hargrave, which is kind of unfair. But even if you take away the defense, I said offensive line, I meant defensive line, obviously. But you also have guys like Fred Warner. You have Dre Greenlaw. They have who's that corner that I'm just completely man, I just mispronounced his name, but his last name is Ward. And then they also have it's my favorite player, and I still can't say his name right. Halufa Hafunga, Talanoa Hafunga. I am so sorry I'm butchering that name. He is a great player, and I am really a big fan of him. But that is just talent all over there. So you really can't double team or even triple team a player like Nick Bosa, because you're leaving yourself vulnerable to a player that's probably maybe not just as good, but really fucking good still. So despite missing 2020, the entire 2020 season with his ACL, he has really never missed more than 2 games in a season. He was all pro for the first time in 2022 with 18.5 sacks. He had 19 tackles for loss and 51 total tackles. He was also the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year, by the way. So very high honor right there. And he was second in QB hurries in 2022 with 78. And he was a 90.9 overall grade on PFF. So PFF loves him. I don't really get into the analytics as much, but for this kind of instance, like I said, don't really have our own grading system. That's something that we should definitely work on. And I'll talk with Alex. Alex, you're watching this, start working that shit out. Your kids can wait. I'm just kidding. But going on to number 3, we got Fred Warner. So Fred Warner, again, you're going to notice a trend, by the way, with this list, guys. You can call me a homer, and this was actually really fucking painful to do this, putting so many 49ers on this list, because y'all know I'm literally wearing a fucking Seahawks jersey, right? Not jersey, a shirt right now. But goddamn, the 49ers are so good. Seahawks, they rebuilding that Legion of Boom now. I got shut down for Devin Witherspoon, which is really hurt me. But let's back to Fred Warner, get into that. We have he's really not even arguably the best linebacker in the NFL. I wanted to say running back, really bad right there, but he is the best linebacker in the NFL by most accounts. Micah Parsons is more of like a pure pass rusher at this point in his career, and he's even talked about on Twitter, which I recommend going follow him. I think I said that earlier, but excuse me, gotta get it out. But yeah, like I said, Micah Parsons is a good follower on Twitter because he let everyone know that he's actually considering making that full-time move to the D line, to where he's going to be more of just like that pure pass rusher and not even really play the linebacker position. But he's one of the most versatile athletic players in the NFL, at least on the defensive side of the ball. He'll probably still back out and, drop into coverage and play linebacker here and there. But Fred Warner is also the captain and the anchor for that defensive unit, the best defensive unit in the entire NFL, being the 49ers. So that is a big thing for me. If you are, the leader of probably some of the best group of talent on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL, that shows that other guys respect you. And that's something obviously just outside of that, because that really doesn't have anything to do with fantasy. His talent alone just shows for that as well, because he's also a crazy athlete. But so many players, again, same with the Nick Bosa thing, is that so many players around him are so talented, it allows him to play more freely and less cautious of mistakes. And you really, and one thing that's really impressive, by the way, like I said, because one of the more important things is I've really talked about a lot of his characteristics instead of his stats, but he's never had less than 118 tackles since he's entered the league. And he's also one of two linebackers in the NFL with an 80+ grade on run defense and got myself tongue twisted. He is one of two linebackers in the NFL with an 80+ grade on run defense and pass coverage since 2021. The other is Dre Greenlaw, his linebacker mate. 49ers defense is crazy, man. He has an 83.7 overall grade on PFF. And again, we will be getting our own grading system soon, but for now, we're just going to go with that PFF. So Fred Warner, age 26, don't know if I said that. He is a cornerstone and probably the best linebacker in the NFL for years to come. But going on to number 4, who a lot of people could also make an argument for one of the best linebackers in the NFL, if not the best, is Roquan Smith. Now, Roquan Smith just hits that limit, age 26 years old. Same with Fred Warner. But he comes in at number 4, and he just signed a massive 5-year, $100 million deal with the Ravens. Y'all make fun of me in the comments. Y'all know what that was. But a 5-year, $100 million deal with the Ravens, locking him in for the long term. So obviously the Ravens are showing massive amount of confidence in him, hoping for him to be like that next Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs type player. And he really did. The moment he got traded, made his impact known immediately after his trade to the Ravens, improving their defense dramatically. And they were already a good defense, but they were a defense that were dealing with a lot of injuries. And Roquan Smith, being as athletic and free playing as he is, really helped with that. Now, he's never had less than 100 tackles in a year. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I read my notes wrong. He never had less than 100 tackles only once in a year. So every single year, he's 100+ tackler, which is guaranteed fantasy points in the IDP leagues. And he even topped 160+ tackles 2 years in a row. So 2021 and this past year as well. Now, the 26-year-old also had a career high in sacks last year and interceptions, getting 4.5 sacks and 3 interceptions. So again, showing that athletic ability, that free playing nature that he has, and also just his speed. I don't have his 40 time in front of me. I should have looked that up. But usually that 40 time is just such I guess, I'm blanking on the term that I'm looking for, but a bland term, because you're never going to have straight line speed is irrelevant in the NFL. You want to have quickness, agility, burst in and out of your step. But his speed and athleticism and instincts just fit really well with John Harbaugh and the type of system that he plays over there. And he's also had over 700 fantasy points in back-to-back seasons. So this is an IDP guy, whether you are rebuilding or you are contending, you definitely need to be having. So yeah, definitely those 4 are really great. We're going to go on to number 5. And honestly, one of my favorite players in the NFL right now is just really fun guy to watch play. And I'm not even a Raiders fan, and that just kind of ruined it for you. But it's Max Crosby. And he is 25 years old. And he's one of the brightest stars in the NFL, really. He's never had less than 7 sacks in his 4-year career. He's finished last season with 89 total tackles and 12 12.5 sacks on what is a piss poor freaking defense. Sorry for all you Raiders fans out there, but y'all's defense was trash. I don't know why I said it like that, but he had very little help on that defense. So it's the complete opposite of what you had with the 49ers, where, you know, you really can't double team or triple team a Nick Bosa, or you can't send extra help for a Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw or Javon Hargrave, because you're leaving incredible elite talent wide open. That shit wasn't happening on the Raiders. Crosby was getting double teamed. You could watch that very easily, but he was still very one of the most consistent pass rushers, arguably in the NFL. Like I said, never having less than 7 sacks in his 4-year career. That's the type of like stability you really love to see. So, excuse me, since his emergence, though, he has made the Pro Bowl in back-to-back seasons, and he's also come in second behind Nick Bosa for QB pressures, with 47, which, by the way, Nick Bosa had 78. That's fucking crazy. But more help is incoming, though. So you Raiders fans do have a little bit more of, I guess, something to look forward to on the defensive side. I don't really know what to say about your offense right now. Jimmy G, I mean, you got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. Jimmy G, though. I don't know. But let's keep this defensively focused. But you do have a lot of help coming in with Tyree Wilson, who I am a really big fan of, and a lot of scouts were big fans of too. Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah. I watched their podcast Move the Sticks a lot. If you guys don't, check it out. It's really good, especially during like draft time. But they were both really big fans of Tyree Wilson coming in. A lot of people, and I think Daniel Jeremiah was one of them, actually had him mocked going ahead of Will Anderson a few times. So Tyree Wilson is a really great prospect that if he just stays healthy, he does have like a foot injury, I believe, right now. And I don't really know how he's progressing with that. Again, I'm not a Raiders fan. I haven't really paid attention to it, but I'm assuming he will be healthy for the season. But I remember them saying during draft night he had a foot injury. So, or is at least working his way back from one. So if he could stay healthy and he can provide help from Max Crosby on the opposite side, whew, man, y'all Raiders fans, y'all have something to look forward to, at least on that defensive side for the next few years. Now, no other player in the NFL, though, when it comes to Max Crosby, accounted for more of their team's pressures last season. He is truly a one-man show, at least as of last season in Vegas. And his overall grade on PFF is a 90.1. So moving on to number 6, we actually have our first defensive back. This one might be a little bit, I guess, controversial, because I have done my research in the IDP. I haven't played it for years, just, so you guys know. And if my list sucks, please let me know in the comments. I have played a few IDP leagues, though. They haven't lasted very long, truthfully. But I've always wanted to, and I'm actually in my first one that is a dynasty one that I'm hoping continues for a few years. But just to kind of put it off now and stop putting it off, Derwin James comes in at number 6. And again, just hits that threshold at age 26 years old, but it's probably one of the best defensive backs, easily one of the best safeties in the NFL for sure. When I say defense backs, I'm also counting like cornerbacks and stuff like that. But I mean, he's easily one of the best safeties. He can cover any position. He can cover your tight ends. He can cover a wide receiver. He can cover a running back. And if you don't think he can cover a tight end, just look up what he did to Travis Kelce. Won't take you long. But he is also an extremely hard hitter who is not afraid to lower his shoulder, almost to a fault sometimes because he has had his injuries. But he can clog up holes in the box against really anyone while, like I said, being able to drop back in coverage. And he's had over 100+ tackles in every season he has been healthy. Despite 2 injury-filled seasons, he has stayed relatively healthy, only missing a game or 2. And he is also, again, like we talked with Fred Warner, he is the anchor, the defensive anchor / leader for that team, that you can just immediately tell the difference when he's on the field. When he's off the field, they don't look as good, clearly. Now, when he's on it, they're probably one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, shout out to Eric Kendricks, because they did just sign him, and there has been a lot of positive reports about him coming out at OTAs, that he is taking that, leadership role very highly. And a lot of players are, lining up to him and respecting him and wanting to follow his lead. So that would be something really great. So you don't have to depend on Derwin James. But obviously this is a guy's talent that's just unbelievable. Now, when he's on the field, or the past 2 seasons at least, when he's been on the field and healthy, he's had over 500 points for a safety, which is very impressive. You have linebackers putting up that kind of numbers, but he's also hard to see the team move. It's also very hard to see the team moving off of him just because of how much better he does make them. But like I said, with Eric Kendricks coming in and people like that really helping take that leadership role, if he's not able to stay healthy, maybe they do want to move off of him, and maybe he's not worth the money at that point. Because again, he's had those 2 injury-filled seasons, but he stayed relatively healthy since then. And what could have really happened if the injuries do persist, he could find himself in a new situation because his contract extension doesn't even take effect until 2024. So the Chargers could easily get out of his contract. Now, he has a 77.3 overall grade on PFF. And again, this is one of the best safeties in the NFL, probably one of my favorite players too, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Going on to number 7, we have a young guy, real young guy, but has hit the ground running. Nick Bolton for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is a guy I didn't have a lot of experience with. I didn't know much about in the last 2 years, just on the defensive side of the ball. I knew his name. I didn't really pay attention to his stats, though, just because, again, I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs guy, and usually if I'm looking at the Chiefs, it's for the offensive side with Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, Travis Kelce, those guys. But Nick Bolton has proved to be one of the have a nose for the football very early on in his career, having over 100 tackles in both of his first 2 seasons. He registered 112 tackles in 2021. Then he had a ridiculous 180 in 2022, 108 solo. So the guy has been crazy, and he was only second behind Jacksonville's, I'm 100% going to mispronounce this, Foye Okulalon. Sorry. But yeah, he's really hit the ground running, and something that, you could see it in your linebackers, at least the great ones, but usually you see it in like your first round, early round, and he was a second round draft pick, so that's not too late, but he's really hit the ground running. He's proved to be one of the better linebackers in the NFL already. So he's had 13 games with 9+ tackles in 2022, 13 straight games, with 9+ tackles in 2022, and also, he finished that season with 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. So he had 645 points in 2021, and he had 785 points in 2022, solidifying himself as a must-buy for either your contending teams or your rebuilding teams long-term, because, again, he is only 23 years old. Now, one of the things that you want to kind of look at is he hasn't really made a Pro Bowl in his first 2 years of his career, which I think is kind of crazy. So maybe the league itself doesn't look at him as that elite of an option, but also the Pro Bowl has come really just a popularity concert at this point. And I didn't know much about him just because he's in Kansas City and people are going there for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So but he is a 75.7 grade overall grade on PFF. So this is a really interesting player. Again, he has my attention for sure. 180 tackles last year is nothing to I'm blanking on the term, turn your head to, or whatever. It's early, guys. It's like 6 a.m. Please. Well, it's not 6 a.m. It's like 7. But yeah, it's early. Just give me a break if I'm a little out of it. But so we have Talua now. God, I hate this guy's name, but I love him. I am so sorry, guys. Please just make fun of me in the comments. Talanoa Hafunga, safety, 49ers, age 24. Again, love this guy. I am so sorry I cannot pronounce his name. But he had a true breakout season last year. He was incredible. I had the 49ers defense in a couple of my leagues, so I paid a lot of attention to their games. And he always jumped out on film to me. Like anytime you watch their games, and really not even necessarily film, because I'm not going to say like I went back and rewatched their games, but like anytime I watched the 49ers game, he always jumped out on the TV to me. He did. He has that trait that you really just can't teach. He's a ball hawk. No matter what, he's always around the ball making like some type of play. He's either it's like a pass deflection, it's a pick, it's a sack, it's a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, a tackle. Doesn't matter. Dude is ridiculous. And he's also, again, on that 49ers team that is just crazy stacked with talent. So it allows him to just play really free thinking, allows him to break on balls maybe a little quicker than he normally would if he was playing with teammates that he couldn't trust so much, with like incredible talent of their own to just back him up. So this guy is a really incredible talent. There's just not too much that I could say about him. There's a lot that I could say about him. I could go on for hours. He reminds me a lot of, and this is actually in my notes because he has been working out with this guy, Troy Polamalu. So Troy Polamalu, if you remember watching him growing up, because I sure the hell did. He was one of my favorite players. I played safety growing up, and I tried to model my game after him. Clearly, I am no Troy Polamalu. I'm not saying that. But he was just such a fun player to watch. You know, everyone, at least I remember from top of my head, and I'm terrible at remember things. If any one of my friends, and y'all are watching this, so you know, I am terrible at remembering things, but I will never forget that time where I watched Troy Polamalu against the Titans literally jump over the center. And I think they were just trying to kneel the ball or something, but like Troy literally jumped over the center and freaking sacked the quarterback, and I think they fumbled too, which was fucking crazy, man. It was an insane play. And Talanoa does stuff like that, but they work out together, and they're both former USC grads, so they've been working out and been training together. So it is really awesome to see that like he's kind of molding his game after someone that I'm sure inspired him as well. So I love this player. He's so exciting. And I didn't really get into much of his stats, but I'm not going to, just because you don't really need to know him. Just trust me on him. If you watch the 49ers, I'm sure the same thing. And I really hate that I'm a Seahawks fan just gushing over a 49ers player, but he is really good. And also, last thing that I want to say before I do get off of Hufanga is Jimmy Ward is gone too. So Hufanga is now the top dog in San Francisco, at least from the terms of that DB perspective. So he will be all over the field. And I'm really blanking on their defensive coordinator. It was a really good defense coordinator brought in, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But man, it sucks that I can't remember his name. But I do remember being really excited whenever I saw that he was signing with San Francisco, because that's just going to be really good. And they have another great defensive coordinator come in who's going to be able to use players like Hufanga, like Bosa, like Fred Warner, use that crazy athletic ability, those crazy ball skills that they have, and just those natural instincts that all of them have that really you just can't teach, that allow them to be some of the best playmakers on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. Now, I didn't mention it, but he has a 68.8 overall grade on PFF, but if it was me, he would be 100. Motherfucker is awesome. Love him. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL right now. And he's also only going into year 3, by the way. Maybe year 4. I think it's year 3 though. But going on to number 9, Devin White. So this one might be a little controversial again, because I've seen a little bit of discourse, I should say, I guess, about Devin White on the fantasy community, going through like Twitter and stuff like that, which I guess is getting a little bit harder to do because fucking Elon with my rate limit, this dude, telling me to go touch grass. You know what? I'm just gonna go make a podcast, Elon. How about that? That was really weird. Y'all make fun of me in the comments. But yeah, so Devin White, speedy, athletic rusher who's very capable of covering most positions in NFL. While it may not be his strength, it is something that he is definitely capable of doing. Now, despite his struggles as a head coach, Bowles is a great defensive mind, and you've seen that even when he was with the Bucs before. Excuse me. But he is a great defensive mind, and he will scheme White open to be able to make more tackles for loss and get back to that sack total that he really has, even though he hasn't really been able to reach that 2020 production again. But the Bucs did draft Kalijah Kancey in the first round, adding another player for Bowles to use. But it's also White and fellow linebacker Levante David who are like the core of that defense. So they're going to scheme things around that linebacking core and be able to find ways to use them for their talents. And White is his incredible, burst off that first step to where he can hopefully get back to maybe getting a couple sacks every year, at least. Maybe not like that 9 or 10 sack season that he had. I don't remember, but at least to where he's in like that 5, 6, 7 range. But Devin White has never really had less than 600 fantasy points in his career, so you know what you're getting. You may not have a ginormous upside with him, but you're getting sturdiness. And for a rebuilding team or a contending team, that's exactly what the fuck you want. So you're getting that sturdiness that you want. And he hasn't, like I said, hasn't reached that 2020 production again where he had 9 sacks. There we go. But he has been steady enough to where he is a top cornerstone piece, even if even if he ends up on a new team after his contract expires, which I believe is 2023 or maybe 2024. It's coming up though. But he has a 45.5 overall grade on PFF. Now, again, Devin White, probably not the sexiest name on this list, but this is someone that's going to give you a lot of fantasy points. So I would kind of equate him maybe to like the James Conner, maybe a little better. But yeah, someone who's no one really wants to take, but he always does really fucking good. It's kind of annoying because I always deny trades for him. But going on to number 10, Sauce Gardner, age 22 years old, the Jets defensive player of the year that everyone loves, Mr. Sauce himself. Get lost in the sauce. But he's young, man, but he looked like the best cornerback in the NFL already last season. Now, shout out to him for being, like beyond his years, because he said this on Twitter not too long ago. I recommend, again, following him on Twitter. He's another one who's a really good follow. But people were calling him like the best defensive back in the NFL already, and he was just kind of like, slow your roll, like there are great guys that have been doing this for years that I'm year one, like I haven't done shit yet, basically is what he was saying. So I love that kind of humbleness, but this is also a guy who calls himself Sauce, who's clearly, like as confident as can fucking be. So I love Sauce. He's probably, again, with Hufanga, one of my favorite players in the NFL right now. I am a defensive guy, which is why I love IDPs. But again, defensive rookie of the year in 2022. The Jets also had the second race passing defense in 2022, alongside making players like DJ Reed better. Because, DJ Reed was always good, but he was never looked at as elite. Now DJ Reed is looked at as elite. Because I'm not going to say Sauce made him better, but when you have elite, he did make him better, but it's because whenever you have elite talent across you, it allows you to play more comfortable in your own zone and to do things, to not have to do things that you aren't good at with DJ Reed. He's a elite 2. He's not the guy that you want your best guy going up against. At least that's just in my opinion. Any Jets fans, by all means, disagree with me. I've been showing y'all a lot of love though, so y'all better take it easy in the comments. But he also, his fantasy production may dip, so this is something why he is number 10 for me, as much as I do love Sauce, because he's an elite guy. He's shut down. He's literally taking entire sides of the field off, so quarterbacks aren't going to want to throw to him as much, so he's not going to get the interceptions, he's not going to get the pass deflections. But one thing that could help make up for that lack of coverage, lack of pass coverage or production, I said it again, lack of production on the defensive side of the ball for IDP leagues is his tackles. He had 75 tackles his rookie season, which is really good for a defense or a cornerback. You don't really see your cornerbacks getting that high up in the tackles that much. So if he can do that and, maybe hopefully get tested every now and then, maybe get a little higher. If he can get like into the 80 range, that'd be pretty nice, or the 90, if he can get to the 100 range at some point in his career, which I don't think I would ever see a cornerback doing that, which is kind of crazy to think, but he's a great physical tackler, and he's not afraid to do it. So that's a big part of his game I think may allow him to still be fantasy relevant, at least on that IDP side, for the next few years. For the next 10 years, maybe, because he's only 22 years old. And if he's this physical now, by the end of his career, when most cornerbacks usually make that transition to safety, he'll have no fucking problem doing it because he loves to hit, apparently. So this is one of my favorite players. And again, 87.9 overall rating on, or grade, I should say, on PFF. So very highly rated. Jets also had the number 1 offensive rookie of the year in Garrett Wilson, and number 1 defensive rookie of the year in Sauce Gardner. So again, I've been showing you Jets fans a lot of love. You better take it easy on me in the comments. Y'all better fucking subscribe. But no, so before we go ahead and wrap up and I get you guys out of here, because I can tell my roommates are starting to get up, which means I got to get ready for work. But excuse me. I wanted to go over some honorable mentions real quick with you guys. I have two that just two players that I really love that I'm just going to throw out some really quick points on that they're not in that elite cornerstone bracket yet. But I mean, we're really one of them. You could kind of make the argument for him or Sauce. I just kind of threw Sauce in because, again, I said he's one of my favorite players. But I mean, you can make the argument for Patrick Surtain is the first one. You know, Patrick Surtain's elite, man. Like I don't. He's just on the honorable mention because I kept it at 10. But again, you could throw in him or Sauce. It doesn't really matter. Both of them are great. Has lockdown corner in Surtain as well, like literally lockdown. I think only 3 people. I don't remember where I saw this, but I believe it was on Twitter, like via PFF, where only 3 people had gotten over 50 yards on him, and 2 of them were Devontae Adams. That's pretty insane. So Patrick Surtain is like shut down to the max. Like you ain't getting shit on him. And he had an 86.8 overall grade on PFF. And number 2, again, just a player I really like, man. And I think showed a real great knack for making plays for at a position where you don't really expect it a lot of the time, and that's at the defensive line. So Aiden Hutchinson, man. And I'm not saying, like, when I say a knack for making plays, he proved to be a force of nature. He had 9.5 sacks his rookie season with 2 fumble recoveries and 3 interceptions. Now, am I expecting him to get 3 interceptions again? Probably not. But I think he's a ball hawk, man. Some of these players, which is why I like him, just have a certain talent around them to where no matter what happens, they're around the ball. And that Lions defense is getting better. They got better last year. They took the smaller steps, but they are getting better. I like what they're doing over there. Dan Campbell is a really exciting coach. Detroit is, I think, pretty much ranked as a favorite right now in the NFC North. But Aiden Hutchinson is just a really interesting guy. Like I said, showed a knack for making plays, man. He's a ball hawk. So I don't know if they'll continue like that, but this is just a guy that if he's making plays like that, I got to keep him at least on my radar. And also, he logged 90% of the team's defensive snaps last year and 398 points in his rookie season. So, and also he had an 80.7 overall grade on PFF. So that is it. Those are my honorable mentions: Patrick Surtain, Aiden Hutchinson, and to just kind of run through it with you one more time, my top 10 overall cornerstone players in IDP 26 and under. Micah Parsons at number 1, Nick Bosa at number 2, Fred Warner at number 3, Roquan Smith at number 4, Max Crosby number 5, Derwin James number 6, Nick Bolton number 7, I love him, but I can't say his name, Talanoa Hufanga number 8, Devin White number 9, and Sauce Gardner number 10. Let me know if you disagree or you agree in the comments. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Again, we're going to have another episode coming soon, Dynasty Superflex mock draft with me, Ben, and Alex. Hopefully, if Alex gets his head out of his ass. I'm just kidding, Alex. Don't text me being all mad. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Again, like and subscribe. We're going to have more content coming out. I mean, it's July. There's not really much for us to talk about right now, but we're going to be doing some mock drafts and we're going to do some rankings, and we're going to keep you guys interested all the way up until draft season and then to the actual NFL season. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.